Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the very hot topic, gold versus Bitcoin. What one do we choose? Well, both are legitimate asset classes. It's just a case of why are you investing into that asset class? What purpose is it serving? And really, is it an investment or is it a storage of wealth? Well, in today's video, we're going to look at the pros and the cons of both of these asset classes. So stick around if you'd like to learn more about gold and Bitcoin. I'm really interested in this one. I hope you are too. So let's get into it. So let's start this off with a chart that I've created. I'm going to bring it on the screen now and I'm going to talk over this chart. And what we're going to look at here, as you'll see, is gold, Bitcoin, the pros and the cons. And what I've put down on the side here is performance, manipulation, availability, fraudulent inflation, storage, history, and fees. And I've categorized these from high, medium to low, in which I believe the best performers are. So high obviously being the best performance. So starting with performance on gold is, we've put that as high. So why have I put that as high? Well, if we look back over time with gold, it's consistent. No one can deny that gold has been very consistent when it comes to a storage of wealth for your investments. And I am a big believer in slow and steady wins the race, because what you won't see with gold's performance over the years is you won't see ridiculous spikes on the charts. And a little bit later in the video, we'll pop up a few charts with gold and Bitcoin and we'll do a bit of a comparison. But I don't like it when I see Bitcoin suddenly shoot up overnight. It's somewhat of, I believe that's somewhat of a risk on its own, because you know what's happening there. And I believe there's a bit of manipulation to why that's going on, which we're going to touch on. Gold, you do not see that. So to summarize, gold is very slow and steady, wins the race, and the charts prove that. I like that as an investor. And also, for me, gold is a storage of wealth. I'm not looking to try and get ridiculous returns. Whereas if we jump onto Bitcoin, I've put that as low. So why have I put that? Well, you know, Bitcoin can clearly dominate when it comes to performing on the charts. We've seen what it does overnight. We saw what it did in 2017. It's only been going over a decade now. And the performance on occasions makes it look fantastic, which is great. But I think that is very speculative, and I also think that is down to some manipulation, which is what we'll move on to next. But what we'll do is we'll start with gold. Now I've put that down as low for manipulation. The reason being is we're doing a comparison here. So if I was to compare Bitcoin with its manipulation, I believe that is a medium, possibly borderline high. And the reason being, and I'll compare this to gold in just a second, is that there's something called painting the tape. Now, if you haven't heard of painting the tape, essentially what that is, let's just use this for layman's terms, is you've got two institutional investors who are very experienced in Bitcoin. Now, let's say there's $1,000 of Bitcoin in total. What they will do is, if they own the majority of this Bitcoin that's been mined, what they will do is one investor will buy it at $100, sell it back to the other investor at 110, he'll sell it back at 120, so forth, 130, and they buy it and sell it back, Peter pays Paul, essentially. Now, what that does from the outside, any novice or anyone who's not very experienced in Bitcoin will be seeing these huge spikes. And what that's doing is that's driving a fake market, essentially. So therefore, what does that do? That increases the demand, that increases the value. So people then start buying into Bitcoin, which drives up the price even more. Then there's a crash because the institutional investors, they pull out, and then what do? They buy up all the Bitcoin at the lowest price again, and then that can start again. And then they start selling, buying back to each other. And then again, it looks from the outside that Bitcoin will, has these ridiculous prices that it can go up to. So that's painting the tape. So if you haven't heard of it, do look it up, watch some videos on it, or research it on Google. So if we compare that on the manipulation side of gold, it's very hard to do that with gold. Gold has such a long history that it's very hard to take that history and now start changing it and manipulating it. Also, gold is a physical asset that, although it can be, you can be conned with fake gold bars and stuff like that, but on a mass scale, that's very hard to do. It's very hard to manipulate physical gold on the scale that you can do with Bitcoin, because it's a digital asset. So obviously it's open to other threats with manipulation, and also, like I said, you know, institutional or big powers that be, basically, that drive this price up. So let's move on to availability. So availability, I've put both down as medium. So Bitcoin, as many of you probably know, or if you don't know, only 21 million supposedly can be mined. 18 million, I believe, at the moment of doing this video has been mined. Therefore, there's 3 million left to be mined, and that will be the cutoff point for Bitcoin. Therefore, to avoid inflation, which we'll get onto. Availability for gold. The beauty of gold is that they'll never know exactly how much gold left is to be mined. I believe there's somewhere in the region of 56,000 tons, or it's of how much gold there actually is available right now. So availability, I've put both down as a medium. Fraudulent, and what I mean by this is how easy it is to con someone with fake Bitcoin or fake gold. What has the higher risk? Well, I've put gold as low. Reason being is because I'm looking at this on a mass scale. Yes, there are people, and yes, there are you know, companies that perhaps are infiltrating genuine brokers, genuine gold dealers, and what they're doing is they're the middlemen, and they're managing to get these transactions, and then what they're doing is then they're sending off these fake gold bars. However, with a simple magnet, you can do your own gold bar testing, you know, to check its legitimacy. Now, again, we're looking at this on a mass scale. What would be more of a threat and more of a risk that I see is the digital version through Bitcoin. Bitcoin, there has been a lot of fraudulent scams. There's a lot of victims out there who have had their wallets stolen, USBs lost, cloning, you know, fake accounts. I don't know how many emails you guys receive, but I receive a hell of a lot of emails in regards to Bitcoin emails, you know, transfer me this in order to save my grandma and all this nonsense. So I just believe it is extremely high at this stage where there's not a lot of history. There's, you know, things are still being formed, you know, foundations are still being built within the Bitcoin community, that where it's decentralized and it's not regulated, it's so open to being a fraud victim. So I have put that at a high. Inflation, both I've put as a low, because look, if Bitcoin is only 21 million that can be mined and that never increases, then obviously that's great, because that will help eliminate inflation and erosion of Bitcoin's value. And obviously it is digitally, so it will adapt. You know, will we end up paying for things, and will it eventually beat fiat currency, which obviously of course it will, I believe, over the long term. And the same goes for gold. You know, inflation, gold is a great price riser over years. Again, look at the charts. And so I put both of those as a low. They're a great counter to inflation. And that's why, leave me a comment below. Do you use either Bitcoin or gold as an investment to try and make money, or is it a storage of wealth? Let me know in the comments below. Now let's move on to storage. So I've put both as a medium. Reason being is some people say gold, they would, you know, there might be some people watching this video that think actually gold is possibly higher in regards to the awkwardness of storing it. I don't agree. I believe that storing gold, providing it's done correctly in a safe, or you pay for the broker to store it in a vault or wherever you buy it from, it's completely safe. I always believe, you know, actually holding onto the gold yourself and looking after it is the safest way. And I believe, you know, both are a medium, because obviously with digitally Bitcoin, you can hold on a USB, it can be in a digital wallet. So it's, I've classed both as a medium. I don't believe there's a favorite or a one to, you know, lean towards in regards to its storage. History. Again, the one that wins for me is gold. You know, it has a big history, 5,000 years of proven monetary use. Let's look at Bitcoin. It's just got over a decade. Yes, it's made huge amounts of stride, but when comparing it to gold, there is no comparison. Gold is God's money. I've said it before, you've heard it on other videos. 5,000 years of proven monetary use. Do I need to say any more? Not really. That's my views and opinions. So, fees. The research that I've done into storage, transaction and ownership fees, neither seem to favor either asset class. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop down the chart. So I hope that chart helped, and it kind of just looks at the breakdown of where the pros and cons are. Yes, they are my opinions, and you may disagree, and that's absolutely fine. And like I say, let me know in the comments below what you believe perhaps are the pros and cons, and whether you agree with my chart or not. But it gives you an overview. Now, one thing I would definitely look at the scale when we compare both gold against Bitcoin. Gold is an $11 trillion asset. Bitcoin has a market cap of 420 billion. That is a huge difference. Now, yes, you'll say, well, gold's been around for so much longer, it's had that time to build that up. But it's so consistent. Bitcoin is open to what I explained, painting the tape, the manipulation, a lot of fraud, a lot of victims out there, because it is so new. However, I'm not gunning down Bitcoin. I'm just saying that for me as an investor, I choose gold because it's a storage of wealth. I'm not trying to make a quick buck on gold, whereas I believe a lot of people go into Bitcoin without perhaps knowing all the information, because what they do is they see this painting the tape effect, where essentially, look, I could open up 2 digital wallets. I buy from this hand and I sell to the left, okay? And I just repeat that process. And what is that doing? On a very small scale, I'm painting the tape. I'm driving up my own price. So to everyone else on the outside, they're like, wow, look at the price going up. I've got to get involved in that. Well, actually, it's manipulation. It's Peter pays Paul, and it's back and forth, and it's a bit of a Ponzi scheme. I'm not saying that I won't be investing in Bitcoin, because I do believe actually it plays a huge part in our future. I believe that we'll end up paying our coffees with Bitcoin. Sharps Pixley, where I buy my some of my gold from, you can actually pay with Bitcoin. The transaction can be done with Bitcoin. So I think it has a very strong future. The purpose of this video is to compare, and for ultimately you to decide, are you buying either asset class to make money, or is it a storage of wealth? Because gold also, as a final point, has a demand. So when I look at both sides of these asset classes, digital currency at the moment through Bitcoin, what purpose is it serving other than a digital currency and where it may be in the future? Whereas if we look at gold, it actually has a day-to-day demand. Jewelry, dentistries, electronics, consumer goods. And what I'll do is I'll just pop it up on the screen now, a breakdown of where gold and its percentages go to in regards to its actual physical use. Whereas Bitcoin doesn't hold that benefit at the moment. So that's something to look at and consider when you're making your investment. Bitcoin, well, what is Bitcoin if we haven't really touched on it, or you don't already know? Well, in layman's term, it's a single piece of digital code which is then converted into what is a digital currency backed by a blockchain which records and monitors every transaction. So that's what it is. I believe it also comes with some tax advantages, Bitcoin, but don't take my word for it. Do look it up and do your own research. So we're going to come to a close now. I hope this video has helped or given some form of an insight, and perhaps, it will sway you in the decisions that you make. But again, there's no financial advice here. These are my own experiences, my own views and opinions. But again, the point of this video was to hopefully offer value and to break down mainly the pros and the cons of both sides. However, we're going into 2021. There's a bit of uncertainty, certainly with the finances and the monetary system. Be smart, be wise, and until the next video, I will speak with all of you then.